Hey yo, we are back in the lab, in the swamp, more swamp sessions, moving agar around. Today, got a couple plates here, got a mix of some different pleurotus, so some different oyster mushrooms. We've got two different chicken of the woods, and a few others that we'll be putting onto some fresh agar, some fresh transfers. Right here, busting out a different stack of agar. On the left is my standard agar recipe that you'll see me posting most places. It differs a little bit here and there, but my standard ratios for the most part, which is usually about 18 grams of agar, 16 grams to 18 grams of malt. And then right now I'm using yeast extract, so I've bumped it down to probably about 0.7 grams of the yeast extract versus 1.25, 1.5 grams of dry yeast. This stack I'm unwrapping is a little bit higher, and then also I've added some wood to it. I think I added 8 grams of wood per liter, so pretty heavy on the wood. I just wanted to give different things, some different cultures a chance to kind of get their feet back under them. Some of the Hericiums, lion's mane specifically, some of the bear's head and coral's tooth I have, those are fine. Those do their thing for the most part, but some Hericiums sometimes give me a couple issues. And so right now they're giving me a couple issues. I think they're kind of missing out on something after I've recently changed a couple of my recipes and sources around. So added the wood. We'll see how that does it. Some of the plates are a little cloudy and whatnot, but it's fine. It's all about the nutrition. So getting the lab ready, getting everything situated. We got a bunch of transfers today. Give you a look at some clean mycelium, and just a few of those are going to the high nutrient. A bunch like the oysters, those don't need any more nutrition. Those will be just fine. So get things cleaned up, organized, and we're gonna get into it. So we'll start. Let's look through some of these, huh? We've got Florida Oyster. Can't really see too much about it other than that it's fully consumed the plate. And so this was some liquid culture that was dirty a handful of week or so ago, and a little bubble just from pouring, but you can see that's nice, clean, vigorous. I'm gonna try and get some transfers here, trying to avoid some that's touching, growing up the wall. If I didn't seal it good, it would be outside the plate. But as the Florida Oyster, and then the Phoenix Oyster, you can see starting to produce a couple little metabolites there in the center. Just like the other oyster, it's filled up the whole gosh darn plate, but looks pretty good, nice and clean, nice and even. Next, we have the Pleurotus populinus. I don't know why I just had a brain fart on that one. It's because the Phoenix is Pleurotus pulmonarius for the Phoenix oyster. So then Pleurotus populinus, it's just close enough, my brain. But you can see that one. This culture is weird on it. I might put this one on a high nutrient dish as well and see what it does. It grows, it'll fruit, it'll do its thing, but it always gives me plates that look like this. Not terrible up here, right? Focusing all up here. It's got some good sections, but then down here I'm like, well, what are you doing? So give that one a slightly different nutrient profile, a little extra wood. I think it's got a little bit more yeast extract in there as well. I'll check my notes. But then we have two chicken of the woods. These are cool. Chicken of the woods. Just like a unique, fluffy, powdery, wispy mycelium. And then that one's from main cap and stem, which I think it comes from Fungi farms, just like the coralloides I have. They're out in Denmark. Double check me on that one. It's from main cap and stem. And then this one is from Mycology. I believe it's from the DC area. It's a wild chicken of the woods. And so the mycelium on this one's a little more like particulate, fine, powdery. This one, the Mycology culture, is a little wispier. You can see it's got a little bit more body, a little bit more threads to it versus like a speckle. But they're both chicken of the woods. You can see the difference though on how they kind of establish. So both of these will get a low or a regular and a high nutrient dish. Purple Mukitake looking like an oyster dish. Yep, got some metabolites though. It's kind of juicy, nice, clean, even, all the way across. Needed to transfer a bit ago. I've got it growing or fruiting out back, or waiting to fruit, so I just let that one get away from me a little bit. This is where you want to make your transfers. I've got a charcoal dish. I do a few charcoal dishes every so often, just to change the colors, but this is a PO chocolate. It's the chocolate oyster. It's a Pleurotus austriatus from main cap and stem. And it's, instead of the blue oyster, it's got more of a same species, but it's got more of like a brown tint tone. So that's the PO chocolate oyster. Then we've got their blue oyster right after PO CNS. It's the main cap and stem blue oyster. She's a nice, really clean, really healthy, even growth all the way around. A little hiccup almost right there in my thumb, but like not really at all. When we look at it, whew, not bad. So that one's good. Doesn't need extra nutrients. Shit's ripping. And then we've got a Freckled Chestnut. That's just a little settle on some nutrient while I was pouring. A little clump. But that's a Freckled Chestnut, Foliota adiposa. I call it PA321 because I got the culture. The clone is off of a 321 gram chestnut. I got really big fat cluster one time. But I need to get this growing. I'm down in Florida now, so I need to get all my cultures reset, and I want to grow a bunch of them outside and kind of start to work them up and get them used to the different climate, the different situation I've got going down here. So enough talking, enough showing things off. Let's open it up. Let's get in here. We'll make a couple transfers first of these that we're going to give a low or casual nutrient and then a high nutrient. I'll mark which ones of each. We'll start cap and stem, chicken of the woods. ISO that off, put that here. Oh, put a camera there. And then get a couple sterile blades. Probably over sterilize them, but I make sure they're red hot, like for a couple seconds, and I keep torching them, and they're still red, and I keep torching them, and not just the tip. I'd rather be safe, rather burn the shit out of my hands when I go to grab them. But go cool this thing off. We got our high nutrient agar, all the yummy wood and extra yeast and goodie in there. Look at that sizzle. Maybe that'll float. You cool that down. You don't want to burn your culture. You're about to make transfers out. You don't want to go in with a hot ass knife. So give it a second, kind of take the edge off it basically. And then we'll unwrap chicken of the woods. I prefer to unwrap before I grab a knife, but I forgot. You could look at that. It's like powdering coming out. It just doesn't care. It grows and does what it wants. Two transfers. One on a high nutrient, one on a low nutrient. Take a nice big chunk. I try not to take too small of a chunk unless I'm trying to keep it clean or work it a little bit. But if I'm just trying to maintain, I like a big section so it doesn't have to try and rebuild itself entirely. You know, it's got plenty of, that one's too big of a piece. Plenty of a footing to establish itself, especially some of these cultures like chicken of the woods. I almost just double high nutrient. There it is. Some of these weirder cultures, I like to take some bigger sections That way they've got ample to work with. Yeah, you can see I've just got little flakes of the chicken of the woods spreading around now, trying to seep out. That's why you wrap your plates very well. Parafilm, that'll dry out. It'll crack probably. Can't wrap it as many times as easily as grafting tape. So I'm just saying, parafilm users, you should probably use grafting tape. T10, 421, Chicken of the Woods, CNS. And we'll set that off to the side. Same label. And that's the low nutrient, so I'll write LN. This is the high nutrient, so I'll write HN. That's a weird N. And then it is the Chicken of the Woods, CNS. Bang. Next, Mycosapiens, Chicken of the Woods. This one's got that more long thread, cottony mycelium in comparison to that thin, almost powdery, flaky something. I need to fruit them both. It's about to get really hot outside, so I'm not sure. I've only got outdoor fruit space. You can see it's weird, interesting. Bit thinner and not as, should have gotten a bigger piece, but that's alright. Smeared a little bit. It's on high nutrient. I don't have outdoor space, so I only have outdoor space. I don't have indoor space to grow. I'm trying to get the same size piece, I guess. So I'm trying to play with the seasons and fruit what I can. A lot of these cultures are coming down from my lab conditions up in Maine, where it was way easier to achieve cold temperatures. But now I'm working on kind of rearranging and refocusing the lab, the directions, and what cultures I can and can't work with. So we've got some nice hot weather, warm weather, high humidity cultures, mushrooms. Let me know. I'd love to give them a try. For now, we're gonna work with what we got, get a couple extras as we move along, and just keep having fun. So, Chicken of the Woods, Mycosapiens. This culture, I found a wild one in Maine, but unfortunately I didn't clone it. I knew that I didn't really think you could grow it. It was early on in my mushrooming days. I didn't think you could grow it, and I was just so excited to eat it and make little fried chickens out of it. And so I did that instead, and it was delicious, but I missed my chance. Next, Florida Oysters. This is a culture I did clone in the woods. There's some nice oysters popping on the trail, and I came back to them after a couple days of watching them and harvested them, or a couple of the nice ones. And we were going out to dinner that night, and I didn't even eat it. I had no intentions of eating it. I was like, I just want to clone it and have an oyster mushroom from the local area and see what it looks like and what it does. And in my opinion, it looks way cooler when I grow it. Sorry, Mother Nature. But when I grow it, it's got really cool ivory caps, and I get nice coloration and marbling, and I like it. So I think it looks better than it did out in nature. So that's the OGPP, because it was in an old growth forest called Ordway Grove. So it's the OG Ordway Grove, Florida Oysters. Same place I found two different bear's head species. I think I found another one, but that clone and a couple others just didn't make it through all the travels, unfortunately. I lost some cultures. But we got some really good ones. So C1, T13, clone T13. I need to get another clone and spores off this, but I actually just got spores. I need to run the spores off of this and refresh the clone as well, take a fresh clone. But I want to run spores, see what they do, get them adjusted to these southern temperatures. But for now, it's mushroom bite. It's agar work, huh? That's why we're here. Alright, so we've got, I didn't label each of them on this one, but it's easy to tell. High nutrient, low nutrient. HNLN. There we go. Got those labeled high nutrient, low nutrient. And now we'll get into some more transfers, right? Some other cultures. We got our Freckled Chestnut, PA 321. And this one's just going back to standard agar. So 2 transfers of each. 1 is none, 2 is 1. My last transfer session, I fumbled and dropped a plate and lost my transfer. So luckily it was the last plate I did and I could get a nice easy fresh transfer. But stuff like that happens, so always take extras. And always keep backups. I at one point had a liquid culture jar. This was a few years ago. I've got the culture still. I saved it. But I had a liquid culture jar. I was shaking up and I blew out the side of the liquid culture jar and dropped the entire jar worth of liquid onto the floor of my lab tent. And I ended up taking a syringe and sucking some up off the floor and then putting it on a plate. And it came out clean. I had backups, luckily. But I wanted for science to see how it would come up, and my lab floor was able to hold a liquid culture for more than 30 seconds on the ground. Let me slurp it up, put it back on the plate, some of it on the plate. Yeah, so pretty cool stuff. Pretty gross, but it was cool. Don't put your cultures on the floor if you don't need to. But it's not the end of the world if you do. So. PA 321, Freckled Chestnut. If you guys haven't noticed by now, I just kind of babble and I can get talking about almost anything. Slipped out of my hand and ruined that transfer. And yeah, I'll start talking and go off trail very quickly. So you saw I just fumbled and bumped that other dish with the lid, or that other transfer with the lid. So I'm not going to use it. I don't want that transfer. I'm going to go over here, the far side from where I bumbled. I'm going to get 2 nice transfers off that. Ideally, you get right here, right in that little side space, and kind of shank it. And that's how you get a nice, easy, clean transfer from moving to the other. So, that's the PA 321 Freckled Chestnut. And the Freckled Chestnut, that's a fun species. You gotta let it colonize or incubate a bit longer once it's in substrate. All throughout agar, on grain, it's regular full speed. But then once you get it to incubation on substrate, you want to let it get to a nice juicy metabolites, like golden juicy metabolites. It's fully colonized. Let it sit for a couple weeks. Don't move it around, just let it sit for a couple weeks until it's got that little golden shimmer to it. And that is when actually you can slice it open, and within a reasonable amount of time, you'll get fruits at the side. If you put it in too early, you'll slice your bag, put it in the fruiting tent, and then you'll sit there for weeks, and it might fruit eventually, but it also isn't that consistent, and it kind of fruits. If you let it fully colonize and gold up and get the metabolites juicing, you'll slice that bag, pop, I promise. Next, this species pops no waiting, DOCNS. I could probably put it in a fruiting tent like this, and I'd get a decent cluster. So this one, I'm catching this one and chocolate oyster right where I want them, right before they hit the edge. So I'll get a nice transfer of that mycelium right before it hits the edge, and that way it gets on its fresh dish, and it hasn't hit the brakes yet. It hasn't tried to double back and thicken up. it's still in this full expansion mode. And so that is just going to take off that much faster than the culture already would on its fresh dish. So again, sometimes at the edge there, I'll just do the 3 slice on the square, poke the edge, and let it end pull up where it wants to pull up. And so I kind of get away with doing 3 slices instead of 4 slices, even though it's still a square. T10, PO, CNS, 421, PO, CNS, T10, 421. Alright. And then next we'll do the chocolate oyster. I gotta sterilize the blades. First we'll look at it. That way I can ponder. You can see this one's really nice and even too. It took a second maybe to get used to the charcoal, but now it's ripping. Looks really good. I can get a couple good slices before it hits the edge. So I like this one. The chocolate oyster. It acts pretty similar to the PO-CNS in terms of time frame, pollination, mycelial growth, everything. It's pretty similar to the PO-CNS until it fruits. It is going to give you. I feel like it was a slightly. I haven't fruited enough, just a couple bags. It seems slightly smaller of a pin set and fruiting cluster than the PO-CNS. And then the color is a little bit darker. It's more stemmy, which I guess oysters are basically all stem. But yeah, it was a little more stemmy, stout, dark brown oyster than the blue oyster. So similar species or same species, similar, but just different isolation, different cultivar, I guess. But more sterile blades means more transfers. Pull that thing down. Man, that thing is screaming at me. I like to do this too. If I'm making a really old transfer, I'll warm up my dish or I'll warm up my blade, and you can kind of like melt the little center of the incoming dish or upcoming dish. So then you can take an old transfer and put it into a nice juicy agar bath that kind of helps like rehydrate it and that older mycelium kind of take back off. This is a pretty small transfer. I don't know why I took a really small transfer. I don't like it. Sometimes my brain just gets caught up. This one is a little denser. It doesn't want to slice itself. Get it on the side. Kind of tear away, but good chunk. I just didn't want to use that really small piece. Sometimes I just kind of start slicing, especially if I'm talking. But I didn't want that small of a bit. That's a little big. It's an oyster, so oysters are really aggressive. You can do really small bits of agar and they'll expand incredible amounts in very little time, but I don't want to overstretch it, especially when I don't have to. These are probably going to get a couple slices. They're going to go in some liquid culture once this grows out, so that I can have some easy access genetics for myself to keep pulling out of for my own spawn. So wrote right on the label on that. That's all right. POCHO Florida Oysters chocolate T10 is 421. All right. What we got next is the PSMU Purple Mukitake. And we are running out of plates and I don't want to bust out more, so Purple Mukitake, Phoenix Oyster, and Florida Oyster. 2 of them need to get high nutrient dishes. we'll do it on the purple. We'll give the purple Mukitake that little extra sauce, a little high nutrient. And then one of the others. I don't want to bust out more plates for. It's an uneven transfer, an uneven curved slice, but that's okay. It'll still grow. It'll still like it. And I'm gonna go, I think, just opposite side. Try and get a similar little slice. I got a curve on that one in the opposite direction. You guys have now seen 2 fumbles on these last 2 videos. Let's slightly smaller. I've got to hold it. Oh, you can see the tip. I got this one. And then I'll just take it. I've got other backups, so I don't need that backup plate. Going to sterilize some blades for the last 2 transfers after I label, and then we're basically done for this little stack. So random batch of cultures here, but they all need their, what am I on, T5? They all need their transfers. So the PSMU, Purple Mukitake, this one comes from the mushroom shop. I haven't grown this culture out. I've got it fruiting right now, attempting to fruit. I think it's going to want a little bit colder of the temperatures than I can give it, but it's always worth a shot. But it's a really cool, like fall oyster or something, but it's, I can't think of the scientific name. I'll add it in. But in some photos, but it's got a really cool purple, orange, green, oyster-like fanning out, but it's a little bit different. It's lovely. It's really cool. You should go check it out and get one of the cultures yourself from him. He's got a lot of really cool cultures. But the purple Mukitake, I think he's run some spores out from a different wild clone of the same thing, but it's orange. There's no pigmentation, so that's pretty cool too. It's different, and it's fun when people, and cool when people are doing different things. When everybody just kind of follows the leader and does the same genetics, same projects, same ideas, it's cool. But then there's only so much stuff, you know, like everybody's doing and working on the same stuff, the same cultures. Even a lot of these cultures, a lot of other people have. And so there's some that I'm more inclined to run and work with and actually utilize than others, because some of them are more worth it than others. Like, I don't know, if I get really good clusters of oyster, like blue oyster mushrooms, I mean, like, that's cool. I want to. I don't not want nice clusters of oysters, but I would much rather have really nice fat clusters of really nice fat clusters of purple Mukitake or Tiger Sawgill or friggin' beach mushrooms or my own wild forage bear's head or populinus or whatever it may be. Native wild things, just different things. Just grow different things is all I'm saying. So, I'm gonna re-sterilize this. How long have I been going? I don't know, I can't tell on this video. Oh, there it is, 30 minutes? That's not terrible. 30 minutes for some transfers and babbles. I've seen worse. I've hung around for worse. I mean, it's probably worthwhile to get to see some nice culture, get to see the nice cultures, how they work, how they expand, how Now I do whatever the hell I do. Phoenix oyster. Nice, fluffy, overgrown, but it's still gonna be really nice. High nutrient. Do one of each. Leave one of these plates as a tester plate. I've got some more transfers I've got to do, but I gotta put the pin in it for now after this, and then we'll come back for the Hericiums. Break it all up for you all. So, Phoenix oyster, get in nice and even all throughout, so I'm not too worried about where I'm going to get a transfer. And it's an oyster, so it's aggressive. We get a nice little chunk there, a little uneven, not a full square. That's in the high nutrient. We'll go opposite side. Take a slice. Pin it in. And that's in the regular agar. And that's the PPPO. Almost hard to say of so many P's. And so this one should be a really nice warm weather, kind of more brown cap oyster. The Phoenix oyster, it's more known to be a warm weather summer strain. We'll see how much it likes Florida. And again, that's one that I'm only kind of growing it because I kind of want to work with it. I want to see what it's got and maybe have some good breeding material from some proven cultures, and have some proven cultures to be able to give to locals. So that way if I teach some classes and tell somebody and teach somebody how to grow mushrooms, I'm not going to send them home with a bag of morel mushroom spawn after I tell them how to grow mushrooms, because I'm setting them up for failure. I'm going to send them home with a Florida oyster or a Phoenix oyster or something that's proven in the local area that they can grow with little to no effort. So that's why you got to have some of those cultures around, but have fun. Florida oyster. Nice, full, cloudy. It's oyster mycelium. Once you see it, you know it. But make sure that's cool. Get in here. A couple slices. It's all pretty nice and even, so I'm not too worried about the transfers and where. That's a small slice. But that's what wants to come up, that's fine. I do like when you can get that little tear. You can see that little bit of mycelium kind of stretching over the edge. No agar, just mic. It's nice. One more slice here. Go towards this edge. And some mycelium like just softens up the agar differently than others. Chicken of the Woods is one that every time I make a transfer in Chicken of the Woods, it's just, I don't know what, if it's like some sort of enzymes or byproducts or just the mycelial degradation. Again, I don't know what, but some agar or some mycelium on agar just like rips it up and eats it down to nothing. And so you make a transfer and it's hard to even get a piece of agar because there's just no structural integrity. It's interesting, but not all of them. A lot of the species you don't really notice it, but then certain species, just like Chicken of the Woods, and maybe this Florida oyster, the Porotus populinus does it a bit too, where it like softens the agar, which I'm sure, yeah, it's just probably eating some of the compounds in the agar that give it that structural integrity. They're mushrooms, it's mycelium, it's fungus. Like they're constantly adapting and evolving their enzymes to their environment. So enough transfers and enough time on agar, and some of them probably just figure out, hey, this shit ain't that bad. I can eat that too. But we've got, I forgot to throw PLFL on top. Wow, I did all but. See what I'm showing you guys? I'm showing you all bad technique. PLFL. Because I think it's an Austriatus. I haven't double checked to confirm that the Florida Oyster, as they call it, is an Austriatus. But PLFL, high nutrient, low nutrient. You can see still some flakes, especially on that one. It was a little inconsistent, but we'll see how they do. And then this one I'm just gonna have, you know, I'll just leave it open and I'll just be talking. I'm leaning in front of the camera right now and just kind of almost talking into it about two hands, about two of these away. What is that? Probably like 10, 12 inches away, just talking into it, still talking into it. Not trying to spit into it, but pronounce some things nice. Almost also talking into the mic, so if this is loud, I apologize. But yeah, so that's a little test plate. Every so often I'll do this and I'll just kind of leave it open and I'll even kind of do a little something, a little dance and a little move around, and then clamp it. What was that? Probably like 30 seconds or a minute. And then I'll draw the flow hood so that way I know this is somewhere in the middle. And it's a 421. Tester. So I'll just write about 30 seconds that I was doing some stuff. I'll know that this is the video for it, so we'll test that and make sure we're got a good baseline, basically, for everything that we do. And so we've got a handful high nutrient dishes left. I'm gonna back those up, and then later all my Hericiums are going on to the high nutrient for I think a transfer or two, just to kind of get some of their legs back. But let's get these wrapped up, and we'll close up the lab for the day. So grafting tape, I like grafting tape. It's the best option there is. I've got the box Viago on Amazon. That's the brand. Some other Amazon brands aren't as strong, but I've been using it for a few years now, and it's all reliable. It works great. So go around each plate a few times. Make sure they're sealed. And this is why I like grafting tape way more than parafilm. Show me a parafilmer that can wrap this plate system. It's not all about speed, but show me a parafilmer that can wrap this smooth, this dense. I mean, I'm going around the plate a few times. This smooth and easily. I'm not flaking off all this next layer and peeling away this one thing to stretch out and break off. And I mean, I'm just shredding through these. Just start that a little bit, put it there, grab it. That's it. And I just hold in here and just let it. I'm pulling the plate and almost just holding this and slightly moving it, but I'm holding and pulling the plate around the plastic. Wrap up the tester, and I'll leave the tester in a separate pile so I can keep an eye on it. That's about as bad as it gets, where sometimes it tears ever so slightly prematurely as you're stretching it out, and so you don't tuck it in and you get a tail. That's the worst part of grafting tape. But that's not bad, because it's still on there really good. It just has a little tail at the final bit because you didn't get a good snug down. But other than that, I mean, this shit is, it's great. It's cheap. I think it's even cheaper than parafilm. I think it's like $7 for a 2-pack. which then you can wrap a lot of plates with, especially if you don't wrap them as thick as I do. You probably don't need to go around like twice, maybe even like 1.5 times. I just like to be sure and snug. We've got our various cultures that we started with. I've got backups. I usually do 2 of each so that I have a good one I can transfer from, and potentially either a backup that I've never touched into, or I get to choose between the better culture. So that's at least why you do 2 of each. Backups, get to choose the better. But then I have all of these backup cultures I just took transfers of, and those will go fly off into fungal heaven. And we'll move forward to these beauties. And in no time, it almost looks like the chicken in the woods because it kind of smeared a little bit. He's trying to keep to grow already. Not that fast, but soon. So we'll come back, keep checking on these. We'll keep working some. You'll see these go into some grain. See some of these maybe go in some liquid culture. See some of these go into more agar eventually, that's for sure. So stay tuned. More swamp sessions, more swamp stuff. Hit me up if you got any questions, whatever it may be. Cultures, agar, swamp knowledge. I don't have a lot of swamp knowledge actually, but I'm a fraud. But I know some stuff. So hit me up. Stay tuned. Come back. We'll see you soon.